All right, same players. Mr. Hayhurst for the plaintiff, Mr. Peckinpah for the defense. 175, the second half of the transcript, beginning with questioning by plaintiff, Mr. Hayhurst. All right, here we go. In other words, you did not examine it closely enough to give us an average diameter and average height?
No, I didn't.
Now, are there...
I don't know whether that's a fair question or not. I think perhaps if you'd ask him what they ran in diameter from 12 inches to 3 feet, or if when he speaks of timber from 50 feet to 200 feet in height or something like that, give him an idea of what you were getting at.
I would gather from what Mr. Erickson, I gathered you were going to connect it up.
We can do it, yes, that's right.
To put it the way Mr. Peckinpah says, what would you say the trees run in diameter on the Humphreys property?
It will run up to 3 feet.
And do you know approximately how many trees there are?
No, I don't.
And what would you say their height would run?
Probably 175 to 200 feet.
In other words, would you say 175 is the minimum?
The minimum.
And then they would run up to 200 feet?
That's right.
Reset. And would that also be true of the Crossland parcel?
Yes.
Are there any trees on the parcel designated as Erickson?
A small grove of 8 trees up on this the north center.
What kind of trees?
What is it?
What kind did you say?
They are fir and yellow pine.
That's in the area marked as E16?
He said a small grove of 8 trees was his.
8 in number?
8 in number, and down here there's a grove of 18 trees right in here.
That would be in the area marked E17, is that correct?
Any other trees are just occasional ones scattered here over the entire piece.
When you say a grove of 8 and a grove of 18 trees, are you speaking of merchantable timber?
Merchantable timber.
What is your definition of merchantable timber?
Could be cut for lumber at the present time.
With access?
Yes.
Roads into them?
Well, they'd have to build roads to them.
Let's take the Humphreys property. In taking that into consideration in making the division, what value did you place upon the timber on the Humphreys property?
Well, I don't know whether I could answer that because I have a man that would put an estimate on it.
Did he place a value on it in your mind?
Yes, he did. He told me that the property, that there was at least a minimum of 500,000 board feet.
On the Humphreys property?
On the 2 properties and on the 3 properties, 90% of which was on these 2 properties.
In other words, 90% of the timber would be on Humphreys and Crossland and 10% on the Erickson?
That's right.
And of that 90%, approximately half divided between Humphreys and Crossland?
I understand Crossland has the greater number of trees, the bigger percentage.
What commercial value then in making your division did you place upon that timber on the Humphreys property?
At the present time, lumber is $20 a thousand.
$20 a thousand?
Yes.
So you gave the Humphreys property a value of roughly $20 times 90% of 500,000 feet?
Probably.
No, he didn't give the Humphreys property that.
No, it's divided between Humphreys and the Crossland.
You say $20 a thousand, standing timber or?
Sawed timber.
Okay, I have got to start over again. How many feet overall did you give between the Humphreys and Crossland properties?
I gave them 90% of 500,000, a minimum.
That would be 450,000. Then you gave a value of $20 a thousand. That's what it would sell for in place or sawed up?
No, in place.
Now, did that computation take into consideration the cost of removing it?
Yes.
And what cost was that?
That was included in the price of the lumber that's on the place.
That's on the place. Was any consideration given to the cost of access?
No.
So that in getting at that, someone would have to put in roads.
Yes, they'd have to.
And that cost was not considered.
That's their cost.
In other words, that is the value you placed on it in your own mind.
Yes.
Excuse me just a minute, if Your Honor, please. I am going to have to leave here very shortly. Mr. Fryer can carry on. I was just wondering what we are going to do. evidently we can't possibly finish tonight. Is Your Honor going to be able to go on tomorrow?
I'll have to. Every afternoon that's available. I anticipated that this case would take this vein, and for that reason, I can't conjecture how long the case is going to require because you're going to get into matters of obtaining evidence.
We will have 2 witnesses besides Mr. Erickson, and Mr. Hayhurst is doing most of our work for us, so that we won't be very long. I don't know about Mr. Crossland, but I was just wondering what your plans were for tomorrow.
Well, tomorrow afternoon is available, I think.
Your Honor, Friday is a bad day for a presiding justice.
Well, I gave you gentlemen 2 months to settle this case, 3 months almost. You're just going to have to bear with me since you didn't take advantage of it. Anytime you want, 1 o'clock, with interruptions for a default. Do you want to adjourn at 4:30 now?
I think we might as well use the time we have. We have half an hour.
Your Honor will excuse me.
Certainly, counsel, as long as you're satisfied.
I have the greatest confidence in my associate.
We will resume at 1:30 tomorrow.
Yes.
In making these computations, Mr. Erickson, what value did you place on the land in the parcel designated as Humphreys?
I didn't put any value on the land.
I would assume you didn't put any value on the land in either the Humphreys or Crossland parcels or the Erickson parcel as such?
No.
You just used the value of the timber to compensate for some other feature?
That's right.
What feature did you think the timber compensated for?
Well, for the land around my home, it was closer to the heights than their land, so I thought the timber should compensate for some of that.
Now, by the heights, you are referring to the Shaver Lake Heights?
Yes.
That's a subdivision or inhabited area?
Yes.
And it would be on the road which leads to the southeast from the point marked as R4 on Plaintiff's Exhibit Number 1?
That's right.
I take it, Mr. Erickson, that from what you've stated, that you considered the land in the area of your own cabin more valuable than the land on either the Humphreys or Crossland land?
No, I don't.
You don't?
No.
You think that the land is of equal value?
I think it's of equal value.
Now, by equal value, you mean equal value per acre?